Berlin, April 1945. Deep beneath the ruins of a collapsing capital, inside a dim concrete bunker, trembling under constant bombardment, Adolf Hitler prepared for the final hours of the Third Reich. Above him, Germany burned. Below ground, fear spread like poison through narrow corridors where exhausted officers whispered about betrayal, suicide, and the inevitable end. But inside those underground walls, one terrifying question still remained unanswered. What exactly happened during Hitler's final 48 hours? The Soviet army was closing in from every direction. Entire city blocks vanished under artillery fire, while civilians hid inside shattered subway tunnels. Every explosion above sent dust drifting from bunker ceilings. Yet, inside Hitler's underground command center, maps were still being moved across tables as though victory remained possible. Officers nodded silently, while impossible orders were issued to divisions that no longer existed. Hitler's physical condition had visibly deteriorated. Witnesses later described trembling hands, pale skin, unfocused eyes, and slow, dragging movements through bunker hallways. His once theatrical speeches had become exhausted muttering. Even loyal followers began noticing the terrifying reality no one dared say aloud. The dictator who once controlled most of Europe was mentally collapsing before their eyes. Still, denial ruled the bunker. Secretaries typed final military orders while telephones rang endlessly with reports of destroyed bridges, abandoned defenses, and Soviet breakthroughs. Hitler repeatedly demanded counterattacks from units that had already been wiped out. Some officers obeyed. Others quietly accepted the war was already over. Outside the bunker, Berlin had transformed into a nightmare landscape. Smoke covered entire districts. Burned out tanks blocked streets filled with rubble and shattered glass. Civilians searched desperately for water and food while children carried ammunition for Germany's final defense. The city no longer resembled a capital. It looked like the end of civilization itself. Inside the underground bunker complex, tension became unbearable. Loyalists competed for Hitler's attention, while others secretly prepared escape plans. Some burned documents late into the night. Others smuggled valuables into bags hoping to flee before Soviet troops arrived. Trust disappeared. Fear replaced ideology. Then came one of the bunker's most shocking moments. Hermann Goering, once one of Hitler's closest allies, sent a message asking whether he should assume leadership of Germany. Hitler exploded with rage. He interpreted the message as treason. Goering was stripped of power immediately. As the situation worsened, Hitler's inner circle became increasingly isolated from reality. Some still spoke of miracle weapons and imaginary reinforcements. Others quietly discussed suicide. Cyanide capsules circulated among bunker staff. The atmosphere no longer resembled a military headquarters. It felt like a tomb waiting to close. Meanwhile, Soviet soldiers fought building by building through Berlin. Every hour brought them closer to the bunker. Machine gun fire echoed through subway tunnels, while artillery strikes shook underground walls. Red Army troops discovered desperate resistance from exhausted German defenders ordered to fight to the death. Inside his private room, Hitler spent long periods staring silently at maps spread across wooden tables. Witnesses later recalled long pauses, distant expressions, and moments where he appeared completely disconnected from reality. The illusion of control was slipping away, and everyone around him could feel it. Then, unexpectedly, Hitler married Eva Braun inside the bunker. In the middle of total military collapse, with Soviet forces nearly overhead, a small wedding ceremony took place beneath the ruins of Berlin. Staff members gathered awkwardly while explosions echoed above. Champagne was served. Smiles appeared briefly, but nobody celebrated for long. Hours after the wedding, Hitler began dictating his final political testament. Secretaries typed furiously as he blamed generals, enemies, and betrayal for Germany's destruction. Even in defeat, he refused responsibility for the catastrophe surrounding him. The ideology remained intact, even while the empire itself crumbled into dust. As midnight passed, bunker staff sensed something irreversible approaching. Some cried quietly, others drank heavily in dimly lit rooms. Telephone lines failed one after another, the sound of Soviet artillery. On April 30th, Hitler met with senior staff one final time. Witnesses described a pale figure moving slowly through bunker hallways, shaking hands with secretaries and guards. Many noticed his voice had weakened dramatically. Some never saw him again after that final farewell. Above ground, Soviet troops were now only blocks away. Fires consumed government buildings while shells exploded across central Berlin. German resistance collapsed street by street. The Third Reich, which had once promised a 1,000-year empire, was ending after only 12 years. Inside the bunker, Hitler retreated into his private quarters with Eva Braun. Guards waited outside the door in silence. Minutes passed slowly beneath flickering bunker lights. Then came a single muffled gunshot. When staff members entered the room, they found Hitler and Eva Braun dead. Following strict instructions, their bodies were quickly wrapped in blankets and carried through the bunker exit into the ruined garden above. Soviet shells exploded nearby as gasoline was poured over the corpses. In the middle of burning Berlin, Hitler's final followers attempted to destroy the bodies completely. Flames rose into the smoky air while artillery strikes shattered nearby ground. Witnesses saluted nervously as the fire consumed what remained of the dictator who had plunged Europe into catastrophe. But even after Hitler's death, chaos inside the bunker continued. Some officers attempted escape through Soviet lines. Others committed suicide underground. Gunshots echoed through bunker corridors as the regime collapsed from within.